never react, never get angry, never lose control. They say a wise person is never angry, that they have absolute control over their mind. They say their calmness is a fortress, an unshakable strength in a world filled with chaos. For the next 24 hours, I'm going to try to be that person. I'm attempting to survive a full day of modern life's most infuriating moments, using nothing but the ancient wisdom of the Stoics. This is a test of emotional discipline against the constant onslaught of frustration. I'm putting it all on the line to find out, can the wisdom of emperors and philosophers actually work in 2025? Or am I about to completely lose my mind? But first, coffee. What could possibly go wrong? The setup, the rules of engagement. So, what exactly am I getting myself into? For the next 24 hours, I'm living by one powerful rule. I will not lose my temper. I won't be ruled by frustration. I will not react impulsively when things go wrong. My goal is to meet every challenge, every annoyance, and every unexpected disaster with a calm and rational mind. This isn't about becoming an emotionless robot. The Stoics didn't suppress their feelings, they learned to master them. They understood that emotions are a natural part of being human, but they also knew we don't have to be slaves to them. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus laid down the core principle for this whole experiment, something called the dichotomy of control. It's deceptively simple. Some things in life are up to us, and some things aren't. What's in our control? Our thoughts, our judgments, our actions. What's not? Pretty much everything else, the weather, the traffic, what other people say and do, or whether my internet connection dies in the middle of a deadline. The Stoic secret to peace, the secret I'm testing today, is to pour your energy into what you can control and practice a calm, unwavering acceptance of what you can't. It's about creating a buffer, a little space between something happening and your reaction to it. In that space, there's freedom. In that space, there's power. My rules for the day are simple, but strict. Rule number 1. When something frustrating happens, I have to pause before I react. No yelling, no complaining, no theatrics. Rule number 2. I have to actively look at the situation through a Stoic lens, asking myself, is this event actually in my control? Rule number 3. My response must be guided by reason and virtue, not by passion and anger. This is my proving ground, a 24-hour crucible designed to forge a stronger, more resilient mind, or to prove that I am a very, very long way from being a Stoic sage. The clock starts now. Test 1. The morning commute gauntlet. The first test arrived sooner than I thought. It started with a small, almost comical act of defiance from the universe. As I was heading out the door, juggling my laptop bag, my keys, and that what could possibly go wrong mug of coffee, the strap of my bag snagged on the door handle. That tiny jolt was all it took to send a wave of hot coffee cascading right down the front of my clean white shirt. My immediate, pre-programmed response fired off in my brain, a surge of heat, a flash of pure irritation. The words were already forming on my lips, a string of guttural, frustrated sounds. My whole body tensed. This is what the Stoic philosopher Seneca might call a first movement, that involuntary gut reaction. It's not quite anger itself, but the prelude to it. But the rules of the challenge kicked in. Pause. Just pause. I stood there, frozen in my doorway, coffee dripping onto the mat. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Okay, rule 2. Analyze. Is this in my control? The coffee is already spilled. The shirt is already stained. These are external facts, part of the unchangeable past. Complaining won't unspill the coffee. Getting angry won't magically clean my shirt. A thought from Marcus Aurelius echoed in my head. How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? The spilled coffee is a minor problem. A volcanic eruption of rage would be a much larger, self-inflicted wound. So, what is in my control? My response, my schedule, what I do next. I could let this derail my entire morning, souring my mood and making me late, or I could just accept it. This is where another Stoic idea comes in, amor fati, or a love of one's fate. It doesn't mean you have to be happy that bad things happen. It means you accept that they do happen, and you treat them as if you chose them. It means seeing every obstacle not as a roadblock, but as part of the path itself. So, I chose this. I chose this coffee stain as a lesson in patience. I went back inside, calmly changed my shirt, and wiped up the spill. I lost 5 minutes. That's it. I didn't lose my peace. As I finally walked out the door for the second time, I felt surprisingly calm. Not happy, but steady. The world had thrown a tiny spear at me, and I'd chosen not to let it break my calm. But the universe, it seemed, was just getting warmed up. The commute, traffic was a parking lot. A sea of red brake lights stretched out to the horizon. My GPS, a cheerful messenger of doom, added 25 minutes to my travel time. The old me would be gripping the steering wheel, muttering curses, feeling my blood pressure rise. This is a classic Stoic trap. We think our frustration is somehow productive, that by being angry at the traffic, we're doing something about it. But we're not. The traffic doesn't care about my rage. Pause. Analyze. Is this in my control? Number. The hundreds of cars ahead of me aren't going to move because I'm upset. Whatever caused this is completely external to me. So, what is in my control? This little box I'm sitting in, the air in my lungs, the thoughts in my head. I've just been gifted 25 unexpected minutes. I can't spend them driving forward, so how can I spend them well? I turned off the frantic radio and took a few slow breaths. I had a podcast I'd been meaning to listen to, so I put it on. Instead of arriving at work angry, stressed, and exhausted from a battle I could never win, I arrived informed. I had turned dead time into learning time. I had refused to let an external event control my internal state. It was a victory. A small one, but it felt significant. I was starting to see that this wasn't about ignoring reality, but about re-engaging with it on my own terms. Test 2. The digital battlefield of work. The workplace is a gladiator's arena for anyone trying to be a Stoic. The weapons are emails, the deadlines are the closing gates, and the lions are, well, sometimes they're your co-workers. My next test didn't come with a roar, but with the quiet ping of a new email. It was from a colleague on a shared project, and it was a masterclass in passive aggression. You know the type. Full of phrases like, per my last email, and I'm just confused as to why this wasn't handled. It wasn't openly hostile, but it was designed to place blame, to paint a picture where I was the one who dropped the ball. My fingers flew to the keyboard, my heart rate picked up. The injustice. I wanted to fire back a perfectly crafted rebuttal that would put them in their place. My mind was already composing a declaration of war, with our manager CC'd for good measure. That's the ego in action, the part of us that demands fairness and can't stand to be questioned. But then, the rules. Pause. I pushed my chair back from the desk. I literally put my hands in my lap, away from the keyboard, and walked over to the water cooler, forcing a physical break from the trigger. Deep breath. Analyze. What's in my control here? Their opinion of me? Number. Their tone? Nope. Their attempt to shift blame? Absolutely not. The only thing I have control over is my response. I could escalate this into an email war, creating a toxic atmosphere and wasting hours on a pointless conflict. Or I could choose a different path. Marcus Aurelius gave himself this advice. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. If their email was passive, aggressive, and emotional, my best response would be the opposite: direct, calm, and productive. I sat back down and reread the email, but this time I tried to see it objectively. What was the actual problem here? Underneath all the ego, a step in our process had been missed, that's it. A simple, logistical issue. So, I deleted the angry draft. I started a new one. Thanks for flagging this. You're right, that step was missed. I've just completed it, and the updated file is attached. To prevent this from happening again, how about we add a checkpoint to our shared calendar for this task on future projects? Let me know if that works for you. That was it. No defense, no counterattack. I didn't engage the emotional game. I just identified the problem, solved it, and proposed a rational solution. Sending that email felt like disarming a bomb. The tension in my shoulders eased. I felt a sense of clean, quiet power. I had refused to be drawn into a battle on someone else's terms. I hadn't let another person become my master by allowing them to disturb my peace. The day wore on, bringing a fresh set of frustrations. The internet slowed to a crawl just as I was uploading a critical file for a deadline. The old me would have been frantic, clicking refresh 100 times. The Stoic in training, however, paused. Can I control the office Wi-Fi? Number: panicking won't increase my bandwidth. So, what can I do? I used my phone as a mobile hotspot, a simple, logical workaround. The problem wasn't, the internet is slow. The problem was, this file needs to get from here to there. By reframing the problem, the solution became obvious. Each small test was like a rep at the gym, strengthening a muscle of patience I barely knew I had. The climax, the breaking point. Every story like this needs a climax. A moment where you're pushed to the absolute brink. My moment came at 7:34 p.m. It had been a long, draining day of constant self-monitoring. I was tired. I was hungry. I had decided to treat myself to my favorite takeaway, a small reward for a day of effort. I'd been looking forward to it for hours, and then it arrived, completely, spectacularly wrong. I ordered a spicy curry. I received a bland noodle soup. I just stared at the container. In the grand scheme of things, it's nothing, but in that moment, it felt like the final blow. The fatigue of the day, the cumulative weight of every little annoyance I had calmly absorbed it all, came rushing to the surface. This was the breaking point. I felt a surge of white-hot rage, different from the earlier frustrations. It was visceral, my fists clenched. I wanted to hurl the container against the wall. I wanted to call the restaurant and unleash hell on whoever answered the phone. My mind was screaming, I did everything right today. I was patient, I was virtuous, and this is my reward, a lukewarm bowl of disappointment. The desire for justice, for someone to pay for this, was overwhelming. I was deep in what Seneca called the third movement of passion, the one that has already annihilated reason. I was losing. The whole experiment was about to end in a pathetic, soup-fueled tantrum. But then, a single thought, a lifeline from the Stoics, cut through the red haze. It was a question from Marcus Aurelius. Is this what I was born for? To huddle under the blankets and keep warm? Was I put on this earth to be defeated by a wrong food order? The absurdity of it was jarring. Pause. I forced myself to put the container on the counter. I walked into the other room, away from the soup. My hands were shaking. I could feel my heart pounding. This was the real test. Not the easy wins, but this. The moment you feel most justified in your anger is the moment it's most important to control it. Analyze. My hunger is real. My disappointment is real. But the rage is a choice. It's a story I'm telling myself about being wronged. A story fueled by ego and exhaustion. What harm has actually been done to me? not to my ego, but to myself, my character. Am I injured? Number. Has my virtue been compromised? Number. In fact, this is an opportunity to strengthen it. This is the ultimate workout. What is in my control? I can't change the soup, but I can control my reaction and what I do next. I have a kitchen full of food. I can make a sandwich. It's not the curry I wanted, but I won't go hungry. I can call the restaurant tomorrow, calmly, and explain the mistake. The anger started to fade, replaced by a profound sense of clarity. The goal isn't to never feel that first flash of anger. The Stoics knew that was impossible. The goal is to not agree with it, to not feed it, to see it, acknowledge it, and let it pass by without taking action. I walked back into the kitchen, picked up the phone, and then put it back down. Not now. I'd handle it later, when I was completely calm. Instead, I opened the fridge, took out some bread and cheese, and made myself a simple sandwich. And as I ate it, sitting in my quiet apartment, a sense of deep, hard-won peace settled over me. I had faced my breaking point, looked into the abyss of my own temper, and chosen not to jump. I hadn't just survived the test. I had passed it. The elixir, the power of the pause. So, the 24 hours are over. What did I learn? The honest answer is yes and no, and that's the most important lesson. I was not a perfect Stoic sage. I felt anger. I felt frustration. I came dangerously close to losing it over a bowl of soup. Anyone who tells you they can just switch off their emotions is either lying or not human. But for 24 hours, I didn't let those emotions rule me. The Stoic philosophy isn't about becoming a stone, it's about becoming a gardener of your mind. You learn to spot the weeds, anger, fear, resentment, and you refuse to let them take root. You choose to cultivate reason, patience, and kindness instead. The most powerful tool I found wasn't a secret mantra, it was much simpler: the pause. The ability to create even a single second of space between what happens and how you respond is a superpower. In that tiny gap lies the freedom to choose who you want to be. Do you want to be a person who is a slave to circumstance? Or do you want to be the person who, while seeing the storm, stays anchored in the calm harbor of their own mind? I found that this calmness wasn't passive, it was active. It took work. It was a strength, not a weakness. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." Today, I felt that strength, not because problems disappeared, but because of how I responded to them. The goal isn't a life free from frustration. That's impossible. The goal is to build an inner citadel so strong that external events, no matter how annoying, can't breach its walls. They can't harm your character unless you let them. The world will always be chaotic. People will be difficult. Deliveries will be wrong. That is not in my control. But my peace, my tranquility, my character, those are mine to protect. And that is a power no one can ever take away from you. My breaking point was the wrong dinner order after a long, stressful day. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the one daily frustration that would test your calm the most? What's your wrong soup moment? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this journey helpful and want to learn more about building a stronger, more resilient mind, please consider liking this video and subscribing. Thank you for watching.